Welcome back to Useful AI Hacks, your daily AI industry update, launching every morning. I'm Jason James, and today's headlines: Apple's considering Anthropic OpenAI for Siri, OpenAI building its own AI chip, and the rise of AI companions like Grok, and Grok is spreading on Telegram as well in a $300 million deal. Subscribe now and hit that bell for more useful AI hacks we launch every morning. Apple's exploring Anthropic or OpenAI to power Siri starting in 2026, making a major AI pivot and validating these models at scale in consumer hardware.
Right, their strategy for artificial intelligence that they unveiled last year was twofold: in-house models that run on the phone and in-house models that run on the cloud, right? That competes with ChatGPT, with Claude, with Gemini. What the market and Apple has figured out pretty quickly, they're not very good, right? So Apple is now evaluating for the first time using a third-party model, either Claude from Anthropic or ChatGPT from OpenAI, to power Siri. Obviously, as we all know and experience in our day-to-day lives, Siri is not very good. And Apple had been working on an overhaul of Siri using its own large language models for next spring. Now it's exploring maybe using Claude or ChatGPT instead in order to get new features out the door more quickly and make the voice assistant more appealing. So it is a pretty big development, and you see that Apple stock spiked on the news because if they do indeed go down this road, which by the way is not for certain by any means, it's going to mean Apple is going to be a real AI player for the first time.
How much time do they have, Mark? I mean, I guess I feel like any company that wants to compete has to have a successful AI offering. On the other hand, this is a company that already has us kind of hook, line, and sinker, right? We have,
they own me and my family.
Exactly. And me and my family as well, right? I can't imagine living without the genius of their products. And I really feel like an emotional connection to Apple. On the other hand, they have utterly failed in this sense. Carol reminded me that Siri is now 14 years old and she is more incapable than my 4-year-old.
You guys are very focused on your current setup. You're focused on the current generation of consumers. You're concerned about your families, right? What Apple's concern is and what my concern is and the market's concern is the next generation of consumer. They're going to lose a whole bunch of people that are new to the smartphones. There are people born every day. There are people who buy their first smartphone every day. There are families getting their first smartphones every day, right? And those people have a decision to make about which ecosystem they want to enter. And right now, all the talk is about how Apple's AI is completely behind the times. And so that decision, right, is a lot easier when you realize that the Android ecosystem is a big step ahead in what is perceived as the future of technology.
What does this say about Apple as a company? Like this would be a real big shift, right, in strategy? Or you help me out here, right?
Apple likes to go in-house for core technologies. Like I've said many times before, AI is as core as a technology for the future of hardware as the touchscreen has been for technology over the past 20 years, right? Apple owns the technology and the patents and everything behind touchscreen and multi-touch, those gestures that we all take for granted today. With AI, Apple has tried to do something similar, build those models in-house and own the core tech, like they own the touchscreen, like they own some of the camera tech, like they own with their processors and all their products now. But what are you supposed to do if it's not very good? You have to find an alternative. You have to go outside and use a partner. They tried to go in-house. It didn't work. They're going to pull back, in my view, go external, use external partner, and maybe one day do a brain transplant when your LLMs that you're building internally are good enough for prime time. But something's got to give. Interestingly, they are working concurrently on a new Siri LLM project that uses in-house models. And so there's still many debates internally and options being poured over to decide if they're going to go with Anthropic, OpenAI, or Apple Foundation models for this revamped Siri coming next spring.
By the way, are there AI companies that are in the lead? Like, is OpenAI doing better work, at least in terms of the products that we can access now, than Anthropic, than Google, than Facebook?
You talk to a bunch of people in the industry, you're going to get different opinions. I would say the top two are Anthropic or OpenAI, Google in third, and if you want to talk about the big companies, Meta 4, and round it out with Apple if you're going just for the top 5 biggest companies that have some, meaningful share of the space. You talk to people at Apple, though, the word on the street there is it's all about Anthropic. And so Anthropic is really the focus of Apple for this new generation of Siri. They're using Anthropic to power a lot of their internal AI technology. But again, as I say in my story, Anthropic wants billions of dollars at a scale that doubles annually for Siri to be powered by Claude.
Next up, OpenAI is choosing autonomy over Google's TPU, developing its own chip to win cost and performance battles in the hardware arms race.
We're getting a news alert on Alphabet and OpenAI this morning. According to Reuters, OpenAI is planning to add Alphabet's Google Cloud service to meet its growing needs for computing capacity. That's an interesting move, given that Google is deeply involved in its own AI efforts, obviously. The report notes that the partnership is also a way for OpenAI to diversify beyond its reliance on Microsoft's compute power. But regardless, this is going to be a 4-month high, Sarah, on Alphabet shares, which we know had some difficult times in April and May.
Well, it's just so interesting to see competitors, partner, frenemies, right? Because they compete with OpenAI on DeepMind, and they compete on search as people are increasingly turning to search on ChatGPT. And then Google, Alphabet, and Microsoft compete, obviously. So it's just interesting to see all these relationships form and these partnerships in the race.
I mean, what it also tells you, of course, is the enormous need for compute at OpenAI. When you think about the various applications they introduce and just what that requires in terms of compute. Clearly, Sam Altman's going anywhere he possibly can to find it, including to, as you point out, a competitor in terms of the actual products that they have in the marketplace.
Yeah,
but
and one that we often talk about
at Google with the cloud. So.
We often talk about as an existential threat to its search business.
Yes, we do.
What's happening there?
Yeah, you think that they might not want to actually allow them, to do it.
I guess in the race for compute, Google Cloud.
If you find value out of these daily Useful AI Hacks videos, please do me a favor and subscribe to Useful AI Hacks and tap that notification bell so you'll never miss out on a Useful AI Hacks video. We launch multiple times a week. The rise of
Why tech billionaires want bots to be your BFF. In a lonely world, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and even Microsoft are vying for affection in the new friend economy. By Tim Higgins. June 28, 2025, 5:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Grok needs a reboot. The XAI chatbot apparently developed too many opinions that ran counter to the way the startup's founder, Elon Musk, sees the world. The recent announcement by Musk, though decried by some as 1984-like rectification, is understandable. Big tech now sees the way to differentiate artificial intelligence offerings by creating the perception that the user has a personal relationship with it. Or, more weirdly put, a friendship, one that shares a similar tone and worldview. The race to develop AI is framed as one to develop superintelligence.
While we're talking about Grok, let's talk about XAI for a second. XAI is partnering with Telegram in a $300 million integration to deploy Grok to over 1 billion users. AI is going mainstream. Elon Musk's AI startup, XAI, will pay Telegram $300 million to deploy its Grok chatbot on the messaging app, aiming to tap the platform's more than 1 billion users and sharpen its competitive edge in the booming artificial intelligence market. Under the 1-year deal, XAI will also give Telegram half of any subscription sales made through the messaging app. Telegram founder Pavel Durov said in an X post earlier on Wednesday that adding the $300 million will be paid in cash and stock. Well, there you have it. That's today's Useful AI Hacks AI News Industry Update. From Siri's AI future to custom chips, chat companions, and mass rollout of Grok to Telegram. Thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you'll get notified when we launch our next Useful AI Hacks video. We launch multiple times a week. We'll see you tomorrow.